Welcome to Three Grown Girls, a podcast where we discuss issues that affect women as they navigate the 21st century. This is a space created by Jamaican women to discuss topics of importance to us. We're talking relationships, money, career, and the varied things in between. Through it all, we encourage women to live their best lives. As women in our 40s and with the benefit of hindsight and experience, we nurture this space, a safe space to explore the lived experiences not only of ourselves, but also of others. Our co hosts include yours truly, Petre, the cool, calm, and collected voice of reason, or, so I'm told, the candid and spirited Caroline, who says what others are thinking but won't say, and Sarah, who always holds us down with an analytical and spiritual viewpoint. Thank you for joining. We are happy you are here. Now, don't forget to share this podcast with a friend and stay tuned.
Welcome back to Three Grown Girls. Feel the rain on your skin. Wouldn't I love the song there?
It hits the spot every time, right?
How are you guys doing? How are you, Petra? How are you, Caroline?
I'm good.
I'm here sipping tea.
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
fabulous.
Yeah, and Sarah, we're just waiting on winter to drop down on us.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
no.
You guys, listen, you ladies have to head this way for the sunshine, the Jamaican sunshine. You know how it is.
Don't say it, P. Don't
Aww. Say it ain't so, right? Well, it's here. Jamaica is here for you to come this side, come catch the glow of the sun, and then, head back up north. Yeah.
Get some vitamin D and fly back up.
There you go. Yeah, that's that.
And if you talk to them airline, they are them expensive tickets.
Yeah, that's it. No. I'm here pondering Miami all the time. I was saying it to Sarah, Caroline, and it's the same problem I have when you look at those ticket prices, boy. I have to say, all right, maybe go and park it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So today, we three grown girls will look at the issue of women not minding their own womb. All up in each other's uteruses. Or is it uteri?
How weak.
I came across this article some years ago entitled Mind Your Own Womb. And it outlines the many challenges women encounter in trying to bring children into the world. And it highlighted the judgment that women come under when this desire is not forthcoming. In the Jamaican context, we hear, why you not a pitney yet? Where you wait pan? Or you have a child and you still hear one pitney and a pitney. Or maybe you have several and you hear the whispers, oh, she having so many kids in this day and age.
Yes.
Or you end up with one gender and you hear, wow, your girls are beautiful. When you going for the boy?
Hey.
Do any of those phrases sound familiar? Have they passed from your lips? Or have you been on the receiving end? Come, let's talk about it.
Yes,
I know us three have all had challenges with regards to fertility in one way or another. And today we want to candidly share our experiences in an effort to bring awareness not just to the fact that some women have difficulty, but more to the point of the need to extend grace to another woman who might not be having it as easy as you are. At the end of the discussion, we want you to come away with an understanding that your expressed judgment brings additional pressure to an already difficult situation. Right? So let's get into it. On a very broad general level, guys, not your own personal experience, does every woman want a child? What do you think?
I mean, if Instagram and Facebook and all the social media posts that I've been seeing, especially of late, is any indication, I don't think so.
Right.
I think, there's a lot of women coming out now to say that they do not want children and they're very apologetic about it. And, and again, people are always saying, oh, you're going to change your mind later, or you don't understand the joy that you're missing and all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
we just have to come to the realization that not everybody is going to want to have kids. Not
Yes.
everybody is going to be a good mother.
Right.
Not everybody wants that responsibility forever. And
Right.
yeah, I don't think it's something that every woman wants. To be honest, I used to think that it's something that every woman wants. And you'd have heard me say this, Sarah, that I would prefer to have the picnic than the man. But,
Ditto.
but at the end of the day, you find that, especially women in the 21st century, Generation Z people or whatever, they don't want kids. And
Mm-hmm.
we just have to just meet people where they are and try not to be judgmental. And of course, sometimes later on they might change their mind, but we still have to just agree that I don't think every woman is cut out to be a mother or want to have kids.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. What say you, P?
Yeah, I think most assuredly, all women do not want to have children. And I think, unfortunately, though, in many of our societies, women have been cultured in such a way to feel that they want to have children. And when they actually have children, some of them, that is when the light bulb moment comes, when you're like, oh, but hold on, no, I actually don't think I was built for this. Um, so the simple answer is no, I don't think every woman has a child. Unfortunately, I don't think they're always given the kind of space to acknowledge that and to
Right,
maybe deal with it, you know what I mean, before they actually venture into the decision to actually, to have the child. And then that, of course, can have all sorts of ramifications.
right,
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree with you both. And just like Carolyn said, I used to think that everyone wants to. I just at that time I thought some probably want to delay. But as I've grown and I've matured, I've come to the realization that not every woman wants, right? And it should be okay, which we're gonna get into. But on a more personal level, what about you guys? Did you want to have kids? No, for me, I wanted it more than anything. As
I know
Carolyn
that.
said,
I know.
more than academic achievements, more than climbing the corporate ladder, more than the husband. I wanted the picnic. And I do have one. For context, we just say what we have. I have one. He's now 13. How about you guys? Did you always want?
I think for me, I started getting that baby itch when um I got into
Yes.
a serious relationship where I thought, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So I started thinking marriage and family and all the rest. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe a baby will fit in the picture, especially because, in terms of career, it was coming together and, you weren't struggling as you were before. And to provide back context, when I was, in high school, going to university, my worst nightmare was getting pregnant because it just never fit into the picture. And,
Yes.
I probably would have been one of those people who tell us, say, if I had gotten pregnant at that time, abortion was definitely in the picture. But,
Mhm.
I didn't want it at that time. But when, and again, Sarah have one, I have none. It just never worked for me,
Mhm.
right? I never ended up having children, and it's way too late anyway. So it's basically off the table.
I
And
don't know. You see these ladies nowadays.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not going to be a granny mommy. I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah, I'm not interested. It's not
Oh
like, oh,
my gosh.
come, I'm happy. Not interested. My life is not there anymore. But
Okay.
you know, I had gotten pregnant before, and I lost the baby during childbirth. So that in itself,
Mhm.
it still affect me, I'm sure, even though I try not to think about it. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, my one try. And to be honest, after that, I just didn't want to try again.
Mhm.
Okay.
I just didn't really want to try again. And not that I don't love kids, I love children. And I always thought they would be in my future, but it's not the case. But bringing it back to the story, it is really something that everybody has to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
Some people might because they really want kids, they might adopt, they might decide to raise other people's kid or whatever, any way or shape that they want motherhood to take. So
Right.
again, we just have to make sure that we're just giving people the space to deal with that. And
Right.
I know for you, Sarah, it's a big deal. People love to talk about. So when you gonna have picnic, they don't know your journey, they don't know
Yes.
your story, but they're quick
And
to say, "So you're not on a picnic? Why you not on a picnic?" Like,
yeah, I'm gonna get into that, but
yes.
more
So
here P. Did you want kids P and what has been the result? And then we'll get into the stories.
um, yeah, I mean, I think I don't know about like always wanting to have children, but from I was younger, I wanted to be a mother. I knew that I wanted to be a mother. I mean, I think at one point I had notions of like having like a whole baseball team or a football team. Yeah, I think I watched this episode of Oprah some time ago, and there was this really cool, when you're 16 or 17 and crazy. I saw this episode of Oprah, man, and there was this family on with their boys and stuff, and it does look like a really cool thing. And then, reality check. I became mature and realized that, oh no, baby, this is not me. I do not want my life to be about having 10 children. And so I knew from early, I have one biological child now, and I knew from a while now that that was really only what I wanted.
oh,
And the beautiful thing for me is that I have a really great stepson,
oh.
who would just give me a nice peer. So you see that peer issue that Sarah talks about? Nobody can come to me with it. I just tell them, hello, I have a lovely little girl who is 7, and I have a stepson who is 18. So I'm good, right? I'm good. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, I want us to talk about what the experience has been like. So we touch on it, right? As to why it's not always easy. Um, as I said, I always wanted a child. And unlike P, I never wanted a baseball team. I always said one or
Hmm.
two, right? And then when we got married, I wanted to try and start right away because at 22 I had removed fibroids, and that would have diminished my chances because there was a lot of fibroids and therefore a lot of scarring. So I never know which way it was gonna go. My husband was not ready initially. Um, Ideally, I would have wanted to settle in the marriage and enjoy him a little longer without children, but because of this issue, I got married like 28, and I'm like, okay, I'm knocking on 30. I need to get going. But 6 months into the marriage, he was ready, and the first month trying, we conceived.
Hmm.
Um,
Bye bye.
and And I remember, yeah, it was very fast. And I remember at the end of my what would have been my ovulation period, because that ovulation week, hello. At the end,
Yes, yes.
I'm praying to God that if it's your will, let it happen now. And if it's not gonna happen right now, I don't want to be one of those women that stress about it and
Yeah.
feel bad every month when the period come, and I just want to be at peace because I know for a lot of people this when the stress set in, it makes the conception harder.
Hmm.
So conceived really quickly, and as you guys know, it was that was the easy part.
Yeah.
6 weeks into the pregnancy, I am sick, and I was sick for the whole entire pregnancy. And at 27 weeks, he had to be delivered by emergency C-section because I had preeclampsia, which is the first I was hearing about that term, which one would describe as a condition where your blood pressure is elevated during pregnancy and other things are happening, like you keep retaining water, there's protein in your urine, and they will try and bring down your blood pressure, and failing which they'll have to take the baby. And so I was hospitalized twice before I had him. And they rushed in one morning and said, "Don't eat no more." I was having breakfast that my husband had brought for me, and you have to go to surgery. And it was a very difficult 5 hours. Yes, 5 hours. I won't get in all the details. It's in my book that I'm currently writing. Shameless plug. um, a lot of complications. They need to get him out to save for both of us to have a chance at life. And they can't reach him because lo and behold, there are fibroids again with the pregnancy. And when the surgeons went in and they didn't know what to do, they have to send for the head. And she was at her private practice and I had to lay there like half hour for her to come, and it was just a long and hardest delivery, to the point where I started to feel the pain in the cut again. My feet were coming back. When they numb you and your feet go numb, they start come back. And after he came out and they rushed him to the NICU because he was very tiny, he was like a little over a pound, 650 grams. And I really had an outer body experience, like I was hovering over myself in the delivery room, and I'm looking down at myself and I feel like the baby beside me and I see this light. And I just felt like Jesus was there. I can't explain it, and I remember saying, "God, am I dead? Me and the baby dead?" And the next thing I know, I'm coming out of it and I'm just saying, "Jesus, Jesus, Jesus." And my husband told me say it was 5 hours. I was like, "Okay then." And fast track to him being on the NICU for 3.5 months, battling for his life, you know, and miraculously he survived. Details in my book. And
Yes.
it was a beautiful thing in terms of how close I got to God and saw him working throughout the experience. And he's overcome most of what they anticipated would have happened because of being born so early, so small, and on the NICU for so long, and he's overcome most of those challenges. But there are development delays, but he's overcoming them one by one, right? And for a while, I thought maybe I would go again. And even though my husband did say, "Hell no." His exact words were, "Well, if you want to go again, and I don't know who I gonna put it there, but it ain't gonna be me because I'm not putting you through that again."
Wow.
And, I had an epiphany one day. Something just dropped in my spirit to say, "Sarah, are you going to risk your life to have a child that's not even conceived yet and put your life at risk to leave the one that you already have?" Because I don't know if he can catch me up on the statistics, but a lot of women die each year from preeclampsia. I remember right after I had Amari, there's this lady from Falmouth. She had preeclampsia. She was pregnant with twins, and both her and the twins died. So that man should have gone home with his wife and his two kids, and he went home alone,
Yeah.
right? So for me, I had tremendous peace in deciding not to go again and to have my one, because when I made that decision, I was having terrible symptoms with fibroid again. So I was making a decision to remove my uterus, which I did. I still have the ovaries, so I still go through the cycle, just no flow, and I'm at peace with it. So
But
when people say one pitney and a pitney,
right,
they
going
don't
back,
know.
right. That is where it
And,
comes in,
and
because they don't
people,
understand the experience.
exactly, and people have said that to me. "Why you not go again? It not must happen again." Yeah, you try go through 5 hours of trying to deliver. This baby will have to come out of your body to save your life. And I remember after I had him and they wheeled me into that recovery space, and this one of the surgeons said she had never seen a womb that twisted and scarred. So one, I had the preeclampsia. Two, there were other large fibroids in there competing for space with him. And three, a twisted up womb. Right?
Yeah.
So when I say my pitney, his hey miracle, people see me and say one pitney and a pitney, and they don't know what I had to go through. That one was almost none. Right? But that's my story. I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Because I said at the top, listeners, that we've all had our challenges, right? And we really wanted to be candid, share our story so people can understand. Maybe you don't know anyone in your life that has gone through the horrors or have had challenges. So we just wanted one by one to share our story. So that's mine. So who's next?
Take it away,
Nobody?
Carolyn.
I don't have much to say on the topic because it's not something that I want to talk about, to be honest. But I hear you, Sarah, when it comes on to how people respond to you. You know, they don't even realize that, maybe she don't ready, or maybe she has been through trauma and she can't deal with it again, or whatever it is that is causing a woman not to want to try again or to try ever.
Right.
So, I think for me, it's just that, as we say, mind your own home and just be conscious about it. I know that sometimes when, relatives will see you and ask, they're not doing it out of malice. I think it's more just, you're of certain age and society say you should be having kids at this point or whatever. So when older folks usually will say that to me, I usually am a bit more tolerant of them. But when people who know your story, people who has been there, people,
Mhm.
young people who should be aware and understand, especially because people are not ashamed to, talk their story anymore. So you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So when you hear people talking about, look how long you're married and you don't have no kids. Look how, and you only have one child or whatever. You don't even know what that person is going through. I don't remember who had written something about that. Somebody, maybe I'll use Sarah. And they were talking up, none of you. They were talking about the struggle that they were having behind closed doors.
Right.
Trying to have this child, and every month, like you said, like clockwork, the period come. And every time it comes, it's like a big disappointment. And every time they venture out, somebody's asking them, Lad, man, a time for you give the man pick me. Till one of the time she told me that she snapped. So I kind of, I understand where it's coming from. And we really have to be very careful how we approach people, how we make people feel, because sometimes you don't even know what they're battling behind closed doors.
Yeah. So you know, share the story.
No, not
Okay.
on this podcast. I thought I was ready, but I'm not.
Yeah, because there are people, right? Just as you say, what they're going through behind closed doors. A period come, them collapsing at the bathroom, bawling them eyes out, right? And them husband come in helpless, no know what to do, hold them. She cry, she cry, she cry. She get up, she bathe, she put on her clothes and her makeup, and she put a smile on her face, and she stepped through the door. She's trying to compartmentalize. She's trying to face the world in the midst of
Yeah,
moment, and then she meet up on somebody that maybe that very day, she doesn't need to share her story with you.
exactly.
She doesn't. You don't need to know that she's struggling that way, right? Low people and make them live them
Let them do
life.
them thing. What
Yeah,
else
because
me?
I
recently I
totally
saw.
agree. I totally agree with you. I'm sorry, Sarah. Can I just make a point just before we get too far away from Carolyn saying she's
Yeah,
not ready to share her story? So, as you would have said, Sarah, I mean, one of the reasons why we decided to do this podcast is to create those kind of spaces where women can have a frank discussion and talk about stuff that affect them.
yeah,
But equally, if you're not ready for talk, that is also okay.
yeah. And
So I
you're
feel
ready
like,
either.
yeah.
So you're not ready either.
No, me, no, no, no. I'm gonna get to my story,
Oh,
but
okay.
I mean, I just working with it.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
may
it's
not get
true.
too much into my story, but
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Go on. Go.
All right, okay. So what? Sarah is a very, very good friend of mine. Listeners, very, very good friend. And a part of the thing, in sort of ironically or fortunately or unfortunately, that brought us together is this very thing, preeclampsia.
Oh.
Yeah, and whereas so Sarah and I had met, we met in grad school and we hit it off and everything. I used to go. She used to give me these drop offs in our little. She used to have a little car that was so cute.
Diets Astoria.
Yeah, with
Go
like a
Google Diets
with
Astoria. That's what I
that's the
drove.
story. Yes, with like 100 shoes in there, I could barely fit in when I get there. But yeah. So we started out in grad school, but then I mean, and then I think a few years out, we went our separate ways a little bit. But then preeclampsia is what brought us back. I was in hospital. I mean, I think I'd seen Sarah in Sovereign. It was Sarah
Yes,
when
with
you're pregnant
Amari.
with Amari and stuff, and then little did I know that Sarah's experience was pretty much gonna mirror my own, except
Mm.
except that Sarah's son survived and my daughter did not.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I was, so unlike Sarah, after I
Yeah.
got married, I was not interested in, neither my husband nor
Mm-hmm.
I were interested in immediately having children. Like, no, we wanted to, have a few years in the marriage before we decided to have babies. So we're like about 3 years or so in, and also unlike Sarah, we did not get pregnant right away. It took a while. I think we were at it for
Yeah.
maybe about a year or so before we did become pregnant. So this is a baby that me have planned for and planned pan, as we say in Jamaica,
Oh.
for such a long
Yeah.
time. And I was having a beautiful pregnancy. My skin was glowing. I
Yes,
didn't
you
have, you know what I
were.
mean? I was
Yes, you
Yeah.
just having a
was.
fabulous time. My stomach was not overly enormous and so on. But at 26 weeks in, I started to have
Wow.
these upper respiratory pains, like chest pains. For like a whole day in a Jamaica, everything for us is like, you solve the problem by drinking tea. I would drink tea till we blue. And then my husband said, "Oh no, you've been drinking tea since like yesterday, though. Like, what's happening?" So we called the labor ward at UE and they said, all right, maybe have a cup of tea. We're like, we've been drinking tea. We've been drinking tea, now help. Lady said, "All right, come in and let's have a look." And no sooner had I gone in, they confirmed that I was experiencing preeclampsia. Of
Okay.
course, at 26 weeks, your womb is super green. Like your baby is nowhere. I mean, maybe if we're in abroad, we'd have stand a better chance. Maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the chances for your baby is not very good at 26 weeks. So
Okay.
at you they try to have you hold on to the baby for as long as possible to mature that gestation period. And I got to about 27, 28 weeks. So I was another 2 weeks in hospital or so. And at that point, all of my vitals were kind of falling apart. And my husband, that same story that Sarah tell you about the
Yeah.
woman who went in with our pregnancy and come out, our husband alone come out, baby and mommy dead. My husband got
Oh.
a story from somebody while I was in hospital about that. And he said, "Oh no, look here, let's come right now, let's induce labor immediately." And so we had to induce labor. And my labor was laboring for over 24 hours. They had to re-induce it again because the uterus was so green.
Hmm.
Um, and then ultimately, 2 days in, our child dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
No.
say devastating is the word is
Yeah.
is not mm,
I
there's
was
nothing.
devastated with I remember I was at a conference in Barbados when you sent me that message. And I
Yeah.
remember running out.
Yeah.
And one of my colleagues, she was like, work with St. Vincent. And she ran out. And that's how I learned too that her daughters were all born premature. Because when
Oh
I was
my
telling
God.
this story about, this just happened to my friend, so I'm it's like I'm transported back. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
yeah, talk out your story. Go
Yes,
on,
no,
go
no,
on.
no, but trust me, it was. I mean, there is no greater pain to me than losing a child. And I mean, you talk about hearing the news, Sarah, I want to run out of the place. My mother had come to Kingston on the day our child died, so she was ready now to see our grandchild. Man, she bawled all the way back to country. And after we got the news, she couldn't stay with us. My mother is like a
Oh.
super supportive, championing
Yeah.
lady who is there for you in thick and thin. After she heard the loss of the baby, she just left the hospital. She
Couldn't deal
couldn't.
with it.
No, she couldn't. She couldn't deal with it and she cried all the way home. So, that whole experience was very, very rough. And I mean, I think you ladies have said it, that it really does kind of leave you tortured after you've had a rough pregnancy or after you've ended up losing your child. And yet, no sooner do you lose your child and you're trying to grapple with the loss, you have people out there. So, first of all, you have some people who would have seen you when you were pregnant. And so, when
Yeah.
you
Mm.
turn up at the place now, they're saying, "So, how is the baby? Oh my
Yeah.
God."
But
That, right?
That's
This
torture.
this now throws you, it puts you down a rabbit hole. Like,
It
and
does.
honestly, if you don't have support and if you're not talk to
Mhm.
yourself and if you don't have Jesus, it really can devastate you in like the worst way. Um, but eventually you pick up the pieces, and you move on.
yeah,
And let me say, I'm using move on advisedly because, quite frankly, I don't think I'd have been able to move on if I didn't have my rainbow child. As they say, no, I'm serious. It's like people always tell us that, oh, time is gonna get better with time. I'm sorry, years in, I wasn't getting better.
hello,
Right?
hello.
That's a cliche. That's a
Amari,
cliche. Time
Amari,
don't change nothing.
No, it doesn't.
Amari. My son is 13
All
and I
right.
still grapple with it to the point where, people who know the details of the story have been walking behind me for years. Sorry, I have to write about Amari. This story I have to
Yes.
share. And last week I'm writing about the delivery
So I know some think you promote
and,
our book on this.
and, no,
Yes,
man.
talk about the
Yes, I
promotion
am.
part,
But anyway,
'cause at about 10 times you mentioned the book. So I think I do some promotion. Petre, you
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
promote your book too.
I am
Promote
not
your
my
book.
breasts. Not only have I lost a
I
child,
um,
I have
am
had breast cancer and survived. God is good. Get my book on Amazon.
which is already written and published, unlike mine. But
Ah,
I,
yes.
I, it, my keyboard was covered in tears, right?
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
I relive that not just the NICU part, but you see that 5 hour in the OR.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I still have
Torturous.
to be in third
Wow.
Yeah.
other day about it, and I was shivering. I
Mm-hmm.
was shivering even when the session ended. I was still shivering. I had to um drink some wine
Wow. No, no.
to
Wow.
calm down. You understand? I remember right after I had him and I was on the ward. The day after, I don't have much memory of it. Right? My husband have to
Mm-hmm.
tell me some of it. God bless him. So I said the man stand up for me and I marry in a way where me can't even explain. Right?
Excellent.
They
Yes.
didn't know what was going to even happen to me the day after. So preeclampsia can affect you up to even 6 weeks postpartum. So people may not
Mm-hmm.
even have it while pregnant, but you're at risk for it up to 6 weeks after. And
Mm-hmm.
when you have
Mm-hmm.
surgery and stuff, your bowel, for those who have done it, your bowel movements have to come back. And I remember the following day, nothing now come back. The
Oh
doctors now hear what them for hearing. And my stomach, blood pressure still high. I'm in and out of what felt like I was in and out of consciousness
God.
until that now God bring me over that and I'm on the ward and I can't sleep for more than 2 hours at a time. I thought I was losing my mind, and I don't mean it in the figurative sense, guys. I
Mm-hmm.
mean it in the most literal sense that I was losing my mind.
Wow.
I remember one night expressing milk and I felt like something snap in my head and like me feel like me had to start run up and down and scream. And I had to pray hard to say, God, if me lose my mind, oh me I gonna know who you are. Oh me I gonna have a relationship. You can't make me lose my mind. Hello. And little by little, little by little, I get to a place where I'm better, but still very much affected, you know. And when people say one pitney and a pitney,
We're not trying to hear that.
not trying to hear it. But
We're
P, I
not
think
trying
I
to hear
cut
that.
you when you were talking about your rainbow baby.
Right, yes. So and let me just pause because like in everything I have to really big up my husband. And obvious and like you're saying, Sarah, I mean if you don't have your faith going through these kinds of experiences, I mean literally you can lose your mind. It's not,
Of
we talk about
course.
it now like it's simple almost in retrospect,
Yeah.
but it was a very, very difficult experience to go through. But a part of dealing with that difficulty too is that you don't just jump right back into trying to have another child. You know,
Right.
some women, I think, like Carolyn is saying, like, you're really just a boy. Maybe this is not for me, and I can't do it. And I think for a time there, after I had lost our first child, I thought, okay, you know, this is probably not for me though, really. And thank God I have my stepson. You know, this is kind of the narrative that was in my mind.
Yeah.
And then my mother was like, boy, you should have a child. She, encouraging
Yeah.
and stuff, right?
Not my mother,
Um,
anyways.
right? So about 3 years, my husband and I decided that, look, we're not trying to dive back in. We're grieving, we're trying to work through this thing. And incidentally, that experience was the first time I saw my husband cry. And let me tell you
Mm.
something.
Me too.
Listen,
You
yeah,
made me weep.
it's right. It is honestly, like, you think the loss of the baby kills you, but when you look over and you think you're in so much grief and turmoil and everything,
Yeah.
it's when you look at your husband and you see your husband or your significant other a ball, massa, it not and nothing good, right? So he was having to deal with his pain as well. I think that's something else we need to talk about. The fact that when women lose children, for example, we tend to think in a
Mhm.
lot of cases that we're the only ones who
That is the
suffer
one
through
who
it.
No.
knows. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
that's true.
but it
That's
really isn't
definitely
so,
true.
yeah.
And
Yes, go ahead, Carol, go ahead.
it's interesting that you say that because, after you lose a child, it's something that I don't think anybody gets over.
Oh
Even
God,
though,
No.
no.
you might move on and have other kids and whatever, you never
Yeah.
get over it. So for
Yeah.
me, afterwards, I say, okay, let me try again. And it just wasn't happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? Because at the time, another friend of mine was trying to have a child too, and she was doing all these things, go a doctor, and she was just doing, all the things that was just to have a child. And I'm like, do I want to do that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't want to. And it just hit
Right.
Exactly.
me one day that, listen, if it doesn't happen naturally, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was just of that mindset. Some people like they have to, and I think I don't know how it work or how your frame of mind was featured, but a lot of people when they lose children, they're trying to replace that child so quickly. But
Yeah.
No,
then
yeah, we were
Yeah. A lot
not.
of people do. Yeah. A
it
lot of
probably
people
have the
do.
hurt of losing a child, right? So
Yes.
I was in that frame of mind for a while. But when I saw what people had to go through, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. And I
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
No,
kind of bow out of the race.
trust
Enjoying
me. You were
it.
like, it was nice while it lasted, but no, we
Yes,
gotta
it
move
was
on.
nice while it lasted, but
Yeah, no, I
if it
mean,
doesn't happen naturally, it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry.
and
Yeah.
that
And it
was
should be okay. It should be
exactly,
okay.
exactly, which is
It
one of the
has to be
messages we're trying to
okay.
send on this. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
sorry,
Mm-hmm.
my husband and I were of a very similar mindset that we lost a baby, we're dealing with the grief of it, we're not trying to dive back in. And when we
Right.
did decide that, okay, we're gonna try to have a baby now, we just took our time with it. We were not doing anything fantastic, we were not on schedules, we were not on anything. We're just like, yo, when this thing
Come.
happens, it happens. And in the meantime, we're gonna have fun and go along with it. You know what I mean?
Hey!
Yay, right? No, I'm serious. And so, and maybe that too helped because it really does take the stress out of it. So
It
you're
does. It
mourning
does.
and you need to sort yourself out. You can't just be manic about it. And sometimes I think that too can be problematic for relationships because if you're
Yes.
stressed out and so on, everybody are trying to have the baby to replace the other baby, then the whole thing gets very messy. Well, it was my experience. So I believe that if you take the time and just one day at a time, have it flow naturally, like you're saying, Carolyn, then it will happen. Unfortunately for us, it was about 3 or 4 years later
Mm.
we had our baby.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
my wonderful darling Rain, who who I love dearly, who I
Our
love
father call
dearly.
her Empress Rain.
There you go. There you go. No, I think one of the things I want to say about the whole experience of Rain is that, when going into the second pregnancy, things were good. So like my friends, like Sarah, Carol, she and
Mm.
Janice Bud, God rest Janice's soul, and Doreen, we were on this countdown on the clock. We're like, we gotta get to, was it Sarah, 36 weeks?
Yeah.
So, 36
I
weeks
was
is when
okay.
the baby is
37.
considered to be viable and can stand a chance. So if you don't get to that 40-week mark, if you get to 36 weeks or thereabout, you're considered to be in good shape. And if the baby is born,
Right.
then it's not going to be a problem. So we're on this little clock. And I can tell
Right.
you, by the time I get to 26 weeks, I was terrified. Like I was in my mind, I was freaking out. Like, please, God, make her have pre-clump again. Do God, do God. And it
So
worked out.
A preeclampsia is something that you don't know you have, but you develop when you're pregnant.
Right,
It's a,
exactly.
yeah,
It's a
you don't have it
pregnancy.
prior,
Right. Yeah.
is a
Pregnancy induced
yeah, it's a
thing.
No.
Yeah.
pregnancy induced illness that happens most time on
Mm-hmm.
your first pregnancy, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
chances are
Oh.
if it didn't happen on your first pregnancy, it's not likely to happen on any
Hmm.
subsequent pregnancy, right? And if it
Exactly.
did happen on your first pregnancy, your chances of it on your second pregnancy is diminished, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um
But you're still at higher risk than other
Yes,
women.
so
Yeah.
yes, you're at a
Mm-hmm.
higher risk than other women. What they try to do, if you've had a history of it, is to start putting you on blood pressure meds early,
Yeah.
right? And some other intervention. With some
What was
people,
the thing that they give you for the heart again?
for the lungs for the baby.
No, no man, that's the dexamethasone. But the other thing, when
True, me never go again. Me no know
oh,
me
oh
say.
yes, okay, right. So they give you the blood pressure meds, but they also give you aspirin. They give you baby
Oh
aspirin,
yes, yes, yes. Because I
and that
remember
is thought to help.
our
Yeah.
doctor had suggested that,
Right,
right?
yes, yes.
Mhm.
So the point is though that we got through it, but as I was nearing the
Yeah.
end of the pregnancy, at a club strike again, I went, it
Yeah.
was when Obama came to Jamaica, I was like the morning, me and Kian saying, that's my husband. Should we go to the doctor because Obama is here and traffic is all messed up and all kind of places cordoned off and da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go. And he's like, yeah, I think you should go. So I go up to the doctor, and it's a lucky thing. When she's there doing the sonogram, I see her face look a little way. So I say, "What's up, doc?" And she say, "The baby's heartbeat, like she says, it's irregular." I'm like, "Huh? Irregular?" But she's at the doctor, and Sarah, the doctor. She
Yeah,
don't give nothing away. She keep it,
which
strictly
is not
100,
always
right?
good, but
Which is
anyway.
not always good, right? But I suppose at the same time you're in an advanced stage of pregnancy. She's not trying to freak you out too much. So she said, "All right, let's just listen again." And she listened again, and it was like you'd hear the heartbeat, and then after a while, like you don't hear the heartbeat. So she said, "You know what? I'm gonna send you across to let them track it on for a longer period of time." And I kid you not, in about the half hour, I tracked the baby's heartbeat. And by the time I look, is the doctor that beside me in our scrubs ready
Oh
to
Lord.
deliver
Yeah,
the
she's like
baby.
that. She's
Yeah, she
like
don't
that. She
play.
not take no check.
No,
Yeah.
no, she's not playing. And so we delivered immediately. I called my husband. I was like, okay, bring the baby bag. Doc says we're gonna deliver the baby. I called Sarah, and brother's like, okay, we're gonna have the baby now. I was like, huh? Like what?
Yeah.
So we thought we were weeks away, and so the baby was delivered, and I had one of the best moments in life when her cheek
No.
touched my own. I mean, they took her out to the womb, and then they said, "Hold on, mommy, can you start look? Bring the baby, right?" So they bring her. Say, "Coming, mommy." They wipe her off, and then they put her cheek against mine, and oh my God, there's nothing so beautiful as that moment.
Mm,
And
Mm.
I felt I was very happy, and my husband
yeah.
was over the moon, and my friends were over the moon, and my whole family was over the moon, and there was rejoicing, right? But it turns out that we had to be on NICU for a week because there was suspicion of some kind of infection. But we got through that as well, and yeah, and so I have my baby. So I have two horrifying episodes. No, my mother ever so often come and tell me she want grandson, and my father said if I ever hears
That's my mother too.
right, my
My mother
father's having
said
none of it. He's like,
prior
no,
to me
pregnancy
taking
does not
out
agree with you, so no, don't do it.
prior to
Um,
me taking out my uterus, my mother used to say if me tell her say me pregnant, she buy the black frack same time.
exactly,
He's like,
exactly.
satisfy with the
So
one.
that's
One,
the opposite of and you see
yeah,
it comes right back to what we're saying.
hmm,
Everybody's story is different.
yeah,
And
Right.
and it's just sad that there's not enough awareness about, respecting people's privacy, respecting people's
Right. And
privacies, and just let things play out the way it should.
yeah,
right.
Instead of putting
So
additional pressure.
because what we're understanding or what we're saying is that having
hmm,
children is a beautiful thing,
yeah,
right? And we're happy when people can live out them dream and have as much as they want. And
hmm,
what we're bringing this discussion is to say some people are having it easy or relatively, or if them have like a
yeah,
hiccup, it not so you know.
It's not
But
life threatening,
it's not
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
threatening, but people are having challenges. And the reason why we really wanted to talk about it is that in the Jamaican context, particularly,
Hmm.
we're crossed with everything and we're not shown attacked with nothing, right? And this is one of the things that we don't show any tact. We don't allow people to have their experience and don't bring judgment. But I have a question, guys, right?
Hmm.
Um, does this pressure come from both men and women, or you think is a woman to woman thing? Do men open up their mouth and say these things too?
I think it's mostly from women, though.
I
I
think so
find that
too.
it's mostly women, but you do have men who will, they'll probably do it in a different way. Me say breed you, or, you know,
Terrible.
but it's the same
Yeah.
thing, right? Because
Yeah.
that is the assumption that whoever you're with now have what it takes to give you a child, but they can or whatever. But men do that, but I find that and I'm wondering if it's happening to the same extent that it used to, because I don't know if I become old now, people realize, oh, she can't breathe again. But people stop asking the question. But I find that maybe because it's something that people are more aware of and it's so out there and people are talking about it,
You
people are
think
a
it's
bit more
getting less?
I think people are a bit more mindful about it.
Hmm.
Because I have nieces who are in their 30s and all of that, and they don't feel that pressure because we've had the discussion, and they don't feel that pressure.
Right.
So like, oh, you're 30, whatever, you need to be having kids. But my nephew, on the other hand, who is just barely 30, in every day, friend them tease him and call him, what is the word? Gelding.
Oh
Hmm.
gosh, I've never heard that
Have no
term.
kids
Gelding,
yet.
yeah, man. Yes,
Right?
man.
So
That's
I have
yeah.
to be reminding him that don't let the pressure reach you, because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, having a child is the easy part.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As a man, right? Taking care of
Hmm.
them is another thing. So I think maybe it's reversing because we know how it is. In the ghetto by your 16, 17, you have two
Yeah.
and three pitney already. So anybody who don't fit into that mode, where you can't breathe and it becomes
Yeah.
an issue and it's something that we internalize sometimes, and people don't realize how much those words sting.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there's more awareness so people don't go through the same pressure, because some people end up having kids not because they're ready, but because society tell them they should be ready. So
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
But you touch on something that I want to expand on, Carrie. Do you think men generally get the same pressure to procreate like women do? Or is more on the woman that get the pressure?
no, man, I think men get it. Men definitely get it.
Mm-hmm.
Men get it so
They do. And
they do.
I think sometimes in and we don't need to get into this part of it too much, but I think, you know, when you as a man you don't have a child, people begin to sort of question,
Yes, your
your
masculinity and your
sexuality and so
sexuality.
on.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
true.
that can become an issue. So
Listen,
yeah, I
that's
was
so funny
actually
to me.
yeah, I
Jamaica not
was
a real place, and I'm telling you,
no,
Jamaica is not a
but
real
I
place.
don't think it's. I mean, Jamaica, yes, but I don't think it's a Jamaican thing
You
only.
don't
I
think
think
so?
no,
You
eh, eh.
think,
And
I
and
think
and
you
I
don't
think
think so, Petra? I
no,
think
sir,
so, definitely.
you're too
I
bad.
don't think people so
But
readily question his sexuality anywhere
no, no, no,
else
no, no, no,
besides in
no,
a
no,
hospital.
no, no. Sorry, no, no. I don't want to mix it up. No, no,
Oh,
man.
you mean the pressure?
Right, the
Okay.
pressure. Yeah, the pressure is what I mean.
You're
And
right, because you're
yeah,
right. Maybe it's not just in Jamaica, because Ernest does get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
He gets it
yeah,
That's
sometimes.
her
yeah.
hobby, people.
He gets
Yes,
it. He does
yeah.
get it. Because
And honest.
yeah, you're right.
Hmm. And
It's
I
not
think
just
honestly too, men may have a fair amount of anxiety too about, getting, like you say, your nephew getting to a certain age and not having children. Even if
yeah,
they, like, in them heart them want to do some things before they get to that place, they do
yes,
become, I think, a little anxious over it because of what society expects and all of the things that are wrapped up with that. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
may I go switch it up a little bit? May I go
yeah,
to the
man,
other
definitely.
end of the spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
Some years ago, there's this family that came on Smile Jamaica. A married couple, and I think at the time they had maybe had 8 kids and was pregnant again. I don't remember.
People are giving them the side
And
eye. People
and
were giving them the side
they
eye.
were living in rural St. Andrew,
Mm-hmm.
and their story was that they believe that God would want them to have their quiver full.
Mhm,
Like have
mhm.
don't do any form of birth control. And I remember the wife in particular had walked away from her corporate job and she was basically homeschooling the kids. And I remember that family getting such terrible
Flack.
criticism. How them fi have so much picking at this day and age?
Yeah. People
So
say
what
that.
did
People say that.
so
If they're not wealthy, I probably would have said it too, to be honest.
no, I was very critical of them, right? I was critical too at the time, but
Yeah.
I have a totally different
Point
Yeah.
of view now.
point
Mm-hmm.
of view now. But
Mm-hmm.
it just goes back to show that people all up in a uterus.
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
not have none, if you not have enough, if you not you
Ah,
have too
Or if
much,
you have
yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
or you having I know I have friends that will have like 3 4 boys and them cannot walk in peace without people are asking them about the girl.
Rubbish.
You know? So I don't know what you guys think about that. The people all up in that people uterus too and them a have too much, you know.
They
You
are, they
cannot
are,
you
they are.
you cannot win. You
I
Yeah.
cannot
think I
win.
think honestly what it says to you is that you must examine yourself and decide for yourself what
Yes,
you
you
want
have
and don't piss about
right.
people, right?
It has to be
Of
about you.
course.
It has to
Yeah,
be about you and
yeah.
what works for you and your family because whichever way you take it, somebody's going to have something to say.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have something to say. And the world have to go around. Having kids is a beautiful thing. And
Mhm.
you respect people who really go through the journey, especially persons who have had it hard to have kids. But I think we just have to be more mindful of other people and what they're going through because we all go through things.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I mean, especially like you said, Sarah, you had a child and you had so many challenges, right?
Yeah.
People not thinking that, oh, because she have to put so much in this one child that she have, she might not want to have the space or the capacity to
Yeah.
give up a child. So one is fine, but they're going to tell you, oh, where's the child? Where's one pick me and a pick me and all of that. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
just,
Because I had friends who couldn't understand that I was removing my uterus, but I was so at peace. You see,
Yeah.
when me and God lock up in my chamber, because during that time, me know what my mother say, me know what my friend them say, me know what my husband say, but it was my
it
decision.
has to be. It
And
has
when
to be.
I lock up in that chamber and I had that epiphany and I was at peace, I could not care. People always say, talk about it so candidly, saying I have a uterus. Yes, because I'm at peace with it and I don't
You
feel less
have
of
to
a woman.
be.
I don't feel less of a woman because the purpose of it was to carry and marry in barn. I mean, I have no more, so it can go on. It was making the quality of my life difficult, right?
Mhm.
Symptoms of having those fibroids. And as I said, I'm repeating it again, his conception was the easy part. It was a beautiful
Yeah.
experience. And I'm not saying that in an X-rated way, but it was beautiful, right? It was
Right.
almost spiritual.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I had a very difficult pregnancy. I was in a lot of pain throughout my pregnancy because of the fibroids, right? And hospitalized twice. Had a very difficult delivery. And not
Mhm.
even talk about the NICU experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when Amari was first on the NICU, he was not, well, the NICU is a very sterile place and
Mhm.
probably more sterile than an adult ICU, right? And
Mhm.
within that sterile space is a even more sterile, where like maybe
Mhm.
holds like 4 babies, and that's where Amari was, which you're not even graduated to incubator yet. You're
Mhm.
on like a warm bed. I should have done my research to see what that thing name, so that they can
Mhm.
them faster, right?
Mhm.
And I can't tell you the horrors. How many illnesses Amari had to fight in that NICU.
But you know what I will
And
say, Sarah. Sorry, even before you get to like the processing, like the months and weeks of being in there and so on. I think like I'm a high functioning woman. I feel so. I feel like I'm an intellectual, right? But when I saw my first child strung up on
oh
all of those,
yes,
just even
yes,
just that alone,
yes,
my
that was
whole
horrifying.
brain turned to mush.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was horrifying. And the nurses didn't want to take me. He was born for
Yeah,
days, and my husband
rough.
take him time, and and put me in the wheelchair because I had two incisions, because they did the regular bikini cut and then couldn't reach him because of the fibroid. So they
Mm-hmm.
cut me from my navel down. So I had two
Exactly.
incisions, right? And my
Wow.
husband take me around there to see him. Listen, when you say five, him string up on five things tiny and his skin was almost like transparent. He
Jesus.
was the size of like maybe a kitten or a puppy. I'm kidding.
Mm.
I'm not kidding, right? And he had to fight off a lot. And
Mm-mm.
you have preemie girls that don't make it, but statistics show that the boys are more likely to not make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
remember one of the time he was having the seizure, and me and like run off of the ward, and the 12 we hold each other, and we
Mm.
just bawl,
Oh my God.
bawl, right? And you know, miraculously, he's here, he's thriving, he's the happiest person I know in life, right? He's very
Yes.
happy and he has overcome most of his listen, him doctor them marvel how Amara
Mm-hmm.
turn out compared to what he has gone through. Because them see baby go through less and come out much worse.
Wow.
Right? So when I've had that experience, I mean I love upon my one pitney and you gotta tell me say one pitney and a pitney.
Rubbish.
Or you can't understand why my husband and I would be at peace
Mm-mm.
with having one child. That's my experience.
You
Let's
don't have to understand, and I think that's where we should go.
exactly.
Yeah,
You don't have to
You
yeah,
don't
yeah.
understand.
have to understand.
You don't have
And
to
and
understand.
and when I look around, like when you're on Facebook and most of the girls I went to high school with, most of them have one or none.
Thank you very
A
much.
lot of them have one or none because some people it just didn't happen or they didn't find the person that they want to
Right.
have it
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to just go have a baby. If somebody want to just go have a baby, that's fine. No judgment on that either. But if some people say, well, me not find the person, it not gonna happen the way me want, or you simply just don't want a picnic, it is okay.
I
Thank you
think
very much.
it boils down to just drowning out the noise.
Yes.
And
Amen. Yeah.
when you're making your decisions, it has to be something that you are convinced that this is what is right for me. You see,
Mm-hmm.
like when you say you can take out your woman, it's okay. You
Yeah.
have to get to that place where this is okay. And
Yeah.
once you get to that, the outside noise doesn't hurt as much. It's when you're still grappling with what should I be doing, where
Yes.
I am, what do I want?
Yes.
Then
Yes.
when other people are coming at you, it's more hurtful. But once you get to a place of peace, and you're like, okay, this is what my life is going to look like, and I'm okay, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what we always say, and I repeat it almost probably every podcast, is that people often look through the lens of their own desires
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and what seems normal to them, and they can't imagine their life without two or three, and that's fine. And sometimes people think that you might have some kind of emptiness because you never have, or because you have one, and you make this assumption about me. No, and as Caroline said, you don't have to understand, but
You don't have to
I am
understand.
in love with my one, and I'm okay.
And it's
you know?
Look here. Quite frankly, ladies, I think sometimes they look on with you and your one and jealous. Cause them after them
exactly.
five and them a mother. I'm
Or
sorry.
sometimes what I find too, Peter, which is very interesting, because
Yes.
their life is so empty. And the only thing that they
Ah.
have going for
It's
them is the fact
true.
that they have a child
Yeah.
or
It's
two.
true.
So they're
Yes.
looking onto you and can't believe. So she really happy
Yes.
because she don't have any. And that is
Exactly.
what defines their whole life, having a child or
Yeah.
And
having 2 or 3. So
thank you.
because they're there and them themselves not happy,
Yeah, it's
Yes.
true. And
treat
that's
people what
and
them have.
and the
So
kids is what validate
yes,
them. You
it
see, something
comes back.
we talk
Yes,
about all the time, You see, in
Mm-hmm.
life, if it's not God validating you, because we all struggle with some kind of validation,
of
right?
course.
But you see, if it's not God validating you, is a problem. So if
Mm-hmm.
your kids validate you, that's a problem,
Yeah.
right?
And
Um,
a lot of parents, well, a lot of women, and then pick me validate them. And I am
yeah,
not judging them if that's the case, because everybody have the thing that is most important to them. But
Mm-hmm.
when they get to the point where they realize that, okay, you have the white picking fence and the family, and it's still not what your life still not fulfilled.
still empty.
And
Yeah,
then they might say somebody else who's childless and childless by choice, they can't fathom or they could be
yes,
happy.
it's true.
And
It's
that is
Mm-hmm.
just it. So when you realize that sometimes their condemnation of you is really a condemnation of themselves, then you realize,
Yeah,
okay, go and talk.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
you can have more empathy with them. So instead of trying to
Exactly.
struggle against it, you just say, okay, clearly there's something going on with you.
Clearly there's something going
Yeah,
on because
yeah,
Yeah.
we have to just remember again that as women we go through so much.
Yes,
Don't want the
yeah.
added burden from anybody. We go through
exactly.
so much.
Nitpicking,
Yeah,
yes.
Women we are
yeah,
so good at smiling when all you want to do is ball.
it's
Yeah.
true. It's
Like
true.
we're so good at facing the world happily and they wouldn't even know what you're going through personally.
It's true.
So, you always have to remember that when people come at you, sometimes they're coming at you because they themselves are not happy. I guess
Yeah.
once we get that perspective, what they say doesn't sting as much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. So we can, as P said, we can, have more empathy for for their situation.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly.
Yeah. But at the same time, come out of people womb
Yes.
or
And
get out of my
recognizing too that there are women out there who will feel empty if they
Yeah.
don't have children. You have women
oh,
like that.
I'm
I
happy
know
you said
people
that,
who
Caroline.
feel
I'm happy you
empty
said that because
because they don't have a child.
Yeah.
And we have to, show them the new word grace.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah.
How
True. We
they,
talk about that. We talk
right,
about
you have because I
Papa.
have a friend who her sole unhappiness is her emptiness because she didn't have a child, and
Yeah.
it is something that is weighing on her. So we still have to show empathy for people who go through that.
Yeah, we didn't touch on that. We talk a lot about people who are at peace.
Mhm.
But what about that woman that's not at peace?
That is
As
not at
you said,
peace. Yeah,
you have the desire for a child and it never happened. Listen, that's not an easy pill for swallow,
cannot be.
That's not a easy, okay, God, all things work together for good. Okay, God, your
Yeah,
will for my life. That not easy to come to terms with.
it's
Mm-hmm.
not.
It
It's
is
not.
hard. So when you see
Mm-hmm.
sometimes women go and do them in vitro, them try surrogacy,
Mhm.
is you just have to give them the
You
grace
have
to
to give exactly.
no
You have
judgment
to
if
allow them to do it.
yours come
Yeah.
back in vitro or surrogacy. I remember seeing Adrian Bylan talking about that. I don't know if you guys saw it recently that she had her son, that she and Israel were trying for years, and she did it by surrogacy, and she didn't tell anyone that they were pregnant with a surrogate until the baby was born. And she talked about how many miscarriages she's had, and she didn't share her fertility struggles because she had that platform that she could. And she just said, I just believe it was for me to decide if I want
Mhm.
to share it or not. Me
It
feel
has to
I'm
Mm-hmm.
be.
at a
It
place
has to
now
be.
where I can talk about it, but while I was going through it, I didn't want to talk
You
about
didn't want to,
it.
right?
You understand? So we have to understand that some women don't find a man, right? And them no want to settle. Some find it and them can't conceive. Some
Mm-hmm.
conceive and can't carry to full term.
Right.
I have family members that would have suffered with miscarriage. So it's
Right.
one thing when you're trying every month when the period are come, but it's a whole other story when you're actually conceiving
Yes, man.
And
and
then
you're
losing the
toe
baby.
tiptoe and then you see signs of miscarriage and you lose
Mm-mm.
another miscarriage and then another miscarriage. Those things are traumatic, right? Or some of us may carry it pathway like me and P in a,
Hola.
in a and your baby may or may not make it. You understand?
Yeah, it's rough.
There's so many things that can happen in that
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
whole fertility experience. And that's why, guys, I am just so thankful that this is something that is a pet peeve of mine. Not because of my own story, because I'm at peace with me. I mean, I care nobody want to say, but when I look on and see people who would have shared with me the tears where them cry
Yep.
behind closed doors, the pain with them and them husband or them significant other I go through, right? And that's why I'm really grateful to you, my friends,
Mm-hmm.
to come on and share your story. I know it's not easy. It's not easy for me either. I mean, I think it was heavy fiber in my body enough a ball, right? But thank you guys. And I just want to leave us with, having kids is a beautiful experience. We'd agree, right?
Yes.
My son is the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the scripture when it said, blessed is the woman who has her quiver full. But a very, very big but, as our discussion would have showed, it's not a choice everyone shares, nor an experience that we all have easily. There are
Right.
many women with the desire to have children, and it's just not happening for one reason or another. Please extend grace to her and have her live the experience without judgment. She doesn't want your pity or your constant questions. She wants privacy and an opportunity to share how much of her story that she wants to,
Or
or,
share
or
none.
none at all, right? Do not view her experience through the lens of your own desire. In other words, get out of her uterus and mind your own womb. Please and thank you. And
And
I
that
say
goes for
this
men and women.
for
Yeah.
men, and I say this with love and respect for your experience as well.
Of
You
course.
understand? So until next time, peace and love.
Peace.
Bye.
I like that one. Peace.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.